The Thunder have proven themselves to be the real deal this season. They're one of the youngest teams in the league, fighting for first in the Western Conference amongst some serious competition such as the Nuggets or Clippers. Chet Holmgren has been amazing for his rookie campaign, starting his career off as an absolute sniper from 3, shooting 39% on 4 attempts per game. He's also just generally fluid with his moves at 7'1" and has proven to be able to use that to score with ease. You can't complain about his defense either, as he's actually been a block menace this year, and once he gets a bit stronger, should be able to pose a threat to anyone considering his length. SGA has been playing at an MVP level, leading his team in scoring, currently putting up 31 points per game. Most importantly, he's grown as a team-centered creative guard, and if the offense ever breaks down, he's able to secure a good look. All this being done on a team where the ball is a hot commodity, considering the rest of the talent on the team, with guys like Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, and now hired gun Gordon Hayward. The Thunder are not only good right now with young players, but have by far the most bright future in the league given their large cache of picks. This includes 3 first-rounders in the 2024 draft, 4 first-rounders in 2025, and 3 first-rounders in 2027. OKC is in a great spot, but this isn't the first time the team has been in a position like this, and first time they kinda blew it. In 2012, the Thunder were an elite team. They were led by 23-year-old KD, featured a 23-year-old energized Westbrook, as well as a 22-year-old pre-breakout Harden, and they made it all the way to the finals. While they ultimately got slammed by a prime LeBron James on the Heat, these 3 players looked incredible, and everyone not only thought, but knew that this team was going to be up there with the best teams for years to come. Unfortunately, the team felt they had to get rid of Harden, as salary cap issues would eventually arise when he broke out and deserved a starting role. This led to Harden soon being traded to the Rockets for Kevin Martin and a few first-rounders in a pretty controversial trade. This is laughable in hindsight, considering Harden instantly exploded when he went to Houston. It ultimately deprived NBA fans of a Durant, Harden, and Westbrook-led super team and the chance to see a chip in the Durant era. As we all know, KD and Russ just couldn't win with these cats. Similarly, the 2024 rendition of OKC is looking to be too stacked for its own good yet again, but in its own way. The modern Thunder are going to have to learn from the past to prevent all of this talent on the roster from evaporating around them and leaving to other teams. There's only so much of the ball to go around, and you can't keep 5 All-Stars on the team even if they smash every single draft out of the park. Due to the Thunder already having a core that's looking to be made up of SGA and Chet, they just need to surround them with a proper team. This leaves 2 options. They can try to trade a bunch of their acquired draft picks, do draft day trades, or flip younger players to try and upgrade pieces around the 2 stars. Or they can just keep swinging for the fences in the draft year after year and hope they truly strike gold with some young gems that can contribute deep in playoff runs. With either choice, it may lead to a lot of talent being forced to walk. There's only so much money to go around on an NBA team with the cap. Even if money weren't an issue, there's only so much of the ball to go around. And nobody wants to develop in the shadow of, say, Chet Holmgren, who already has potential to be a perennial all-star as young as he is. One thing that should influence the Thunder's decision-making over the next few years is the fact that in large part, this Thunder squad is a homegrown team and developed naturally. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Josh Giddey were all drafted by the Thunder, and Shea was only in his 2nd year when he arrived from the PG trade. If these guys are able to win together this early and not clash with ego issues, then it would be best to prioritize letting them develop together for a few years before making any hasty decisions. The ceiling for this team is absolutely through the roof with their existing core, and again, that's not even mentioning the draft picks that could one day lead to some great players down the line. A huge strength of this team is the chemistry that's been building amongst the top talent. The team is not selfish and the players are elevating each other every single game. One immediate concern that the Thunder could address through either the draft or trades is their lack of a real long-term center. Chet offensively seems like a natural power forward, and there's even an argument to be made about defense. Despite this, Chet is forced to play center with 6'5" Jalen Williams occupying the power forward slot most nights, especially pre-Hayward trade. upgrades. Trying to develop a real center could be key for this team's success long term. Even if they can't hit in the draft, they could always get another hired gun like they have with Hayward to be a real forward for the team this year. A true center will allow this team to switch into matchups that better suit their talent on offense, and allows much more flexibility. The Thunder really don't have to rush anything and can definitely experiment for a few years. But if they can really hone in on an identity early, it would give them a definite advantage. Something the Thunder tried to do by trading James Harden and focusing on their two bigger stars at the time, yet failed miserably.
The current OKC team has a lot of promise, with many of their recent draft picks turning into high-quality players. But older fans of the franchise who have been there since the start know that this isn't the first time the Thunder have successfully been able to build through the draft, as a lot of the pieces on this 2024 Thunder team do look very reminiscent to the 2012 OKC Thunder team, who were on the verge of greatness. Only a week after drafting future MVP Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka in the 2008 draft, the Seattle Supersonics, led by the ownership, decided to pack their bags and head to OKC, in which they would struggle in their first season that led them to acquiring the third overall pick in the 2009 draft, which landed them another future MVP and Sixth Man of the Year James Harden, as the Thunder went on that season to get 55 wins and their first taste of playoff experience. As this team was being led by KD, who had just won his second consecutive scoring title as he was quickly becoming one of the league's premier players, as well as Russell Westbrook breaking out and exceeding expectations a lot faster than many thought, as by his third season he was already averaging 22, 5, and 8 while running point on a deadly starting lineup. And despite the core of this team looking very young, they dominated in the playoffs, making it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, where they would match up with and be beaten by the eventual 2011 NBA champion Dallas Mavericks. But that loss was nothing to hang their heads at. This team still had a lot of potential, and the fact that they were here this early on was an amazing sign. So when Serge Ibaka took another defensive leap forward and Harden truly broke out and took home the Sixth Man of the Year award the following year, the league was put on notice. The Red Hot Thunder finished that shortened lockout season of 2011-2012 as the second seed in the West, and went on in the playoffs to sweep the same Mavs team that they had lost to the year before in the first round, going on to meet the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, and getting them done in 6, to where they would meet LeBron's Miami Heat. Now, at the time, you gotta remember that LeBron just had a very public meltdown in last year's playoffs, with many people questioning if he was really the so-called king. So it seemed poised for the Thunder to take home the Larry O'Brien and start their reign as the NBA's newest dynasty. But as everyone knows, that's not what happened. LeBron and D Wade went absolutely crazy in the finals and made little work of the Thunder in 5 games. No worries though, right? This core is still very young, and they have lots of years to develop together, especially when they're proven to be successful. Well, wrong. The 2012 NBA offseason was dominated by James Harden talk, who many NBA GMs and execs believed was deserving of a max extension. However, the Thunder were not prepared to do that. As a small market team, the OKC Thunder don't really have as many options when dipping into the luxury tax as, say, the Golden State Warriors, who this year, for example, are well past the salary cap with no playoff hopes. Well, that isn't really something the OKC Thunder can afford to do. And with the new CBA that came out of the negotiations of that previously mentioned lockout having some pretty tough penalties for dipping past the salary cap, the franchise needed to be certain before going all in on their roster, and possibly Harden's lackluster performance in the 2012 playoffs led them away from ultimately deciding to give Harden the max contract. So they were forced to send him off to the Rockets, completely changing the look and fate of that Thunder team. So the question is, who's going to be the James Harden of this OKC Thunder team? The circumstances are the exact same, a new CBA that penalizes teams in a luxury tax, as well as restricting mid-season moves for exceeding certain aprons of that salary cap. We've done a video breaking down the new CBA that you can check out right up here, but you just need to know for this video that it almost hinders teams from building through the draft. So it would appear that the Thunder are going to be forced to ship off some of their pieces to avoid going into the different salary cap aprons. SGA seems pretty cemented with the team, getting plenty of MVP nods this year, so it would have to be some massive league-shifting trade that would pry Shea from OKC. Chet Holmgren also seems pretty secure, just based off his size and skill set. The Thunder are going to need him going forward. So that leaves Josh Giddey and Jalen Williams. Josh Giddey started out his career looking very promising, but this season it seems like he's just giving a minor effort. Jalen Williams, on the other hand, is a player that everyone should get to know. After falling to 12th in the same draft as Chet, J-Dub has quickly broken out on a team that, as mentioned, doesn't have enough ball to go around. Jalen has been able to show off his skill set in slight bursts, but we could quite literally be watching the non-robotic Kawhi Leonard in the making. So if this team does want to see success, they should try and avoid fumbling the bag with Jalen like they did with Harden. However, this team is in desperate need of rebounding, and Presti has been hoarding those first-round picks with no noise of him wanting to make any move off of them, so it could be possible if the Thunder team doesn't make a serious push this year, he could just use those picks and other players to go all in on an elite second player to pair with SGA. With all of this being said, the Red Hot Thunder team do look promising now, but not everything is certain. Look at the Grizzlies this year, or what happened to the Hawks since their run in the 2021 playoffs. This year will be a good litmus test for this young core, especially SGA, who hasn't had a lot of meaningful playoff experience. Either way, this team is very exciting and definitely one that casual fans are going to need to start watching and keeping track of. If you made it this far, give the video a like. While you're down there, you might as well just subscribe and let us know in the comments how you feel about this OKC Thunder team. And as for that, we'll see you next week for the upload.